The countryside looked calm as the small bus rolled to a stop near an old dirt road. A quiet man named Ryan stepped down with a single bag on his shoulder. His daughter Mina held his hand tightly. The world behind them had been loud and heavy. The city had pushed him into endless struggle. The last few months were the hardest he had ever lived. He lost his job. His savings almost disappeared. Every door he knocked on remained closed. When things became too difficult, he received a message that his distant relative had passed and left him a farmhouse far away from the city. At first, he had felt confused. He barely knew anything about this relative. Still, the farmhouse was the only chance he had left. People in the city had laughed when they heard about it. They called it junk. They said he had inherited a broken place that no one wanted. Some people whispered that Ryan was unlucky because he received land that had no future. Ryan never answered them. He had learned that silence protected dignity. He only packed his few clothes and Mina's small toys and left the city with whatever courage remained in him. Now he stood on the muddy road looking at the old wooden gate of the farmhouse. The gate leaned to one side as if tired from holding its shape for many years. The fence behind it was covered with wild plants. The roof of the farmhouse looked worn. The walls carried stains from rain and time. A cool wind moved through the trees and rustled the long grass. Mina looked around with wide eyes. She gently squeezed her father's hand and said she liked the quiet air. Her small voice felt like a warm light in a cold place. Ryan pushed the gate slowly. It made a long creak that echoed across the empty yard. He walked towards the front door. Each step reminded him that this was now their home. A home that looked forgotten. A home that carried more memories of silence than of life. Still, when he opened the door and walked inside, he felt a strange sense of welcome. The rooms were empty. The air smelled of old wood. Dust floated everywhere. The floorboards were rough and cracked. But there was a gentle calm sitting in the corners of the house. He set their bag down in the small living room. Sunlight entered through a broken window and formed a soft beam on the floor. Mina stood under the beam and smiled. She said the house felt friendly. Ryan tried to smile back, even though his heart was heavy. He wanted Mina to have a safe place where she could feel happy. He feared this old farmhouse might fail him. Still, he had to believe in it because it was all he had left. He spent the next hour exploring the rooms. The kitchen was small and dusty. The wooden shelves had chipped edges. The dining room had only one chair. The hallway was narrow with faded pictures on the walls. He did not recognize any of the faces in the pictures. They belonged to a family he never met. He wondered if his distant relative had lived alone in his last years. The bedroom had a single bed frame with no mattress. The bathroom had a cracked mirror. Everything looked forgotten. Even then, Ryan felt a soft tug inside his heart, as if the house was trying to whisper a story to him. He did not know why he felt this, but he sensed that the farmhouse held secrets beneath its silence. Secrets that waited for the right person to discover them. He pushed the feeling aside for now. He needed to make the place livable. He cleaned the living room first. Mina helped by collecting small leaves that had blown inside from the broken window. Her laughter brought life back into the empty walls. After cleaning for a while, Ryan stepped outside to breathe. The sky was painted with soft shades of evening. Birds called from the trees. The entire world felt slower than the city. For the first time in months, Ryan felt his mind quiet. He walked around the yard to understand the land better. The field behind the house stretched far. The grass was tall and uneven. Near the barn, he noticed patches of earth that looked freshly disturbed, as if someone had dug there not very long ago. He found old tools scattered near the well. Some looked rusted, but others looked surprisingly new. It confused him. Why would his distant relative leave tools in such random places? Ryan stepped inside the barn. Sunlight filtered through gaps in the wooden boards, creating thin lines of brightness across the dusty floor. The barn felt sturdier than the house. The wooden posts were strong. The ceiling looked recently reinforced. In the corner, he found metal pieces buried halfway in the dirt. They looked like parts of old machines. Their shapes were strange. Some looked like survey tools. Others looked like they were used for measuring something underground. He felt curiosity stirring inside him. This place held more than broken wood and dust. When he returned to the house, Mina showed him a small wooden chest she found near the porch. The chest was old, with iron hinges that seemed stubborn. When he opened it, he found a few toys, 2 old photographs, and a folded cloth. The photos showed children playing near the same farmhouse many years ago. Their smiles made the house feel less lonely. Mina hugged one of the toys and sat on the floor with it. Ryan watched her for a moment. Her joy made him feel more determined. He decided he would repair the house no matter how long it took. He would fix the windows. He would rebuild the roof. He would make the kitchen safe. He would make the farmhouse a real home. As night approached, he lit a small lantern and sat on the porch. Mina slept inside on a blanket he spread on the floor. The quiet night surrounded him. The moon rose slowly behind the trees. The breeze carried the smell of earth and grass. Ryan thought of the city and the weight he had left behind. He thought of the people who mocked him for coming here. They believed the farmhouse had no value. They believed he had taken the worst decision. But sitting there under the wide sky, he felt something different. For the first time in a long while, he felt hope. A small spark, but enough to warm his tired heart. He looked at the fields again. The land felt rich. The barn felt oddly strong. The scattered tools around the property felt intentional. Everything pointed to something hidden. Something important. He did not know what waited beneath the soil or inside the old walls. But he believed there was more to this place than people understood. And as he closed his eyes, he promised himself he would uncover every secret this land held, no matter how long it took. Morning sunlight entered the farmhouse and touched the dusty floor like a gentle warm blanket. Ryan woke up early. He looked at Mina sleeping peacefully on the blanket he had spread for her. Her calm breath filled him with strength. He promised himself again that he would change their life no matter how many challenges stood ahead. He stepped outside and stretched his arms as the fresh air filled his lungs. The land was quiet. The farmhouse looked worn, yet something inside it felt alive. He began cleaning the porch first. The old wood creaked every time he moved, but he felt proud of every small change he made. He swept away dry leaves and broken pieces of wood. While cleaning, he noticed a few hidden markings carved on one of the porch pillars. The carvings were faded, but he could still see lines that formed a pattern. He touched them and felt a strange coldness. It did not feel like an ordinary carving. He wondered if his distant relative had made it. The thought stayed in his mind as he continued cleaning. Inside the house, Mina had woken up. She carried her toy around and followed him with bright curiosity. She asked simple questions that made him smile. She wanted to know why the windows had cracks. She asked why the floors made sounds. She asked if the house had secrets. Her last question made him pause for a moment. He knelt down beside her and said maybe the house had stories they would learn together. They spent the next few hours cleaning the rooms. Ryan opened old cabinets and found nothing but dust. He repaired a loose shelf in the kitchen and cleaned the dining room window. As he lifted a wooden plank near the hallway, he discovered an iron key lying in the dust. It looked old but strong. The head of the key had the same pattern he saw carved into the porch pillar. His heart beat a little faster. He knew this key belonged to something important. Later that day, a few neighbors visited. A woman named Miriam came with a warm smile and brought a basket of bread. She said she wanted to welcome them. She spoke kindly to Mina and told her she could visit any time. Ryan thanked her with sincere gratitude. But after she left, 2 other men approached the farmhouse. Their faces carried a different mood. They looked at the house and laughed quietly. One of them asked Ryan if he planned to turn this old place into a palace. The other said only a desperate person would choose to live in a house that looked ready to fall apart. Ryan did not reply. He only looked at Mina, who stood beside him holding his hand. He refused to let their words enter her heart. As the men walked away still laughing, Ryan felt a mix of sadness and determination. He had been judged many times before. He had been mocked in the city. But he never allowed the world to break him completely. He knew he had to stay strong for Mina. He knew he had to trust that something good waited for them here. After the neighbors left, he continued exploring the house. He remembered the iron key in his pocket. He searched for locks that matched it. Behind the living room, he found a small door that looked different from the others. It was covered with layers of old paint. The lock was rusted, but shaped like it could fit the key. He brushed away the dust from the keyhole and pushed the key inside. It fit perfectly. The lock clicked open with a heavy sound. Behind the door was a narrow staircase leading downward. The darkness below felt deep and silent. He held his breath for a moment. Mina stood behind him, curious but a little afraid. Ryan told her to stay near the top of the stairs while he checked the space. He picked up a lantern from the porch and lit it. The soft flame cast shadows on the walls as he stepped down slowly. The underground room was made of stone. The walls looked solid and smooth, almost like they were built by someone with great skill. It did not match the rest of the farmhouse, which was old and fragile. This room felt protected. It felt intentional. Inside, he found wooden crates stacked neatly. He opened a few. Some held old tools. Others held books wrapped in cloth. He wiped dust off one of the books and opened it gently. The handwriting inside was clear and careful. Each page was filled with notes about land surveys, rock samples, and measurements. He read a few lines and learned that his ancestor had studied the ground beneath the farmhouse for many years. Ryan felt a small chill. The writings described minerals that were rare. Some pages mentioned strange discoveries made near the barn. Other pages recorded large amounts of something valuable buried deep in the soil. The words were written with excitement, as if his ancestor knew he had found something extraordinary. Ryan closed the book slowly and placed it back inside the crate. He explored more crates. One held strange metal instruments. They looked like tools used for drawing maps and measuring underground signals. Another crate held maps showing the entire area around the farmhouse. Red marks were drawn on specific places. Many of the marks were on his property. The maps also listed the density of minerals found in the land. As he studied them, his heart filled with a growing sense of wonder. If these writings were true, the value hidden in the land was far beyond anything he had ever imagined. He reached for another map and saw a large red circle around the barn. Beside it, a note was written that said the deposit under the barn was the strongest. Ryan felt weak in his knees. He had never expected anything more than a quiet life here. But this discovery hinted at a future he never dreamed of. Still, he knew he had to stay calm. He had to understand all the information before drawing any conclusions. When he climbed back upstairs, Mina ran to him and asked what he found. He lifted her in his arms and said he found old books and tools. He did not want to overwhelm her. She hugged him tightly. Her presence reminded him that everything he did was for her. Later, he sat on the porch again, holding one of the journals. The quiet evening wrapped around him like a soft blanket. He read more pages. He learned that his ancestor had dedicated many years to studying the land. The journals described layers of soil, rock formations, and rare minerals. His ancestor believed the land could change the future of the family. He planned to reveal the discovery when the time was right, but something must have stopped him. Ryan wondered why no one knew about this. Why did his relative never share this knowledge? Why was the farmhouse abandoned? He had many questions but no answers yet. The lantern beside him flickered as he turned another page. The writing became more intense. His ancestor wrote about a hidden chamber under the barn. a chamber that held the final proof of the mineral's true worth. Ryan closed the journal and stared at the barn in the distance. He felt a growing sense of purpose inside him. He knew he had to investigate further. He knew he had to uncover the truth. This farmhouse was no longer just a shelter. It was a mystery waiting to be solved. And deep inside, he felt that this discovery could change their future in ways he never imagined. With the night settling in and stars filling the sky, Ryan held Mina close and promised himself he would continue this journey. For her. For their new life. For the truth hidden beneath the silent land. The early morning breeze carried the smell of fresh soil as Ryan stepped out of the farmhouse. The sky had a soft orange glow, and the fields around him looked quiet and peaceful. Yet inside his heart, there was a restless energy. The journal he found in the underground room filled his mind with questions. He could not stop thinking about the red marks on the map, especially the large circle near the barn. Something important was hidden there. Something his ancestor wanted to protect. Mina came outside rubbing her eyes. She climbed onto the porch and sat on the step, watching her father. She asked if they would work on the house today. Ryan smiled and sat beside her. He told her they would fix the house soon, but today he needed to check the barn. Mina tilted her head and asked if there was treasure inside. Ryan did not want to give her big expectations, so he simply said they would discover it together. Her smile made him feel ready for whatever waited ahead. After breakfast, he picked up the iron key again and studied the strange patterns on it. The same pattern was carved into the porch pillar. It felt like a guide. He placed it in his pocket and walked toward the barn with slow, careful steps. The barn stood tall, stronger than the farmhouse. Sunlight slipped through the wooden gaps and created thin lines of gold across the floor. He took a deep breath before stepping inside. The barn smelled of old hay and dry wood. The floor had several wooden planks that looked newer than the rest. He remembered that the journal mentioned a hidden chamber under the barn. He walked around quietly, tapping the floor with the handle of a tool. For a long time, nothing seemed unusual. Then his foot pressed on a plank that dipped slightly under his weight. He paused. He tapped the plank again. The hollow sound proved that something was beneath it. He moved aside a stack of old crates and found a half-buried metal ring near the edge of the floor. The ring was attached to the plank. He crouched down and pulled it slowly. The plank lifted like a door. Underneath was a dark opening with a ladder leading down. A cool wind rose from the hole and brushed his face. It felt like the house itself was exhaling after holding its secret for years. Mina stood behind him and peered into the hole with wide eyes. She asked if she could go with him. Ryan shook his head gently and told her to stay near the top until he called her. He held the lantern in one hand and climbed down the ladder with care. His heart beat fast. The further he went, the cooler and more silent the air became. When he reached the bottom, he stepped onto a smooth stone floor. The chamber was larger than the underground room inside the house. It felt like a hidden world that had been waiting in the dark. The walls were made of strong stone blocks fitted perfectly together. The lantern light revealed shelves filled with metal tools, rock samples, rolled maps, and boxes sealed with wax. There was even a table in the corner with a strange device on it. It had wires, metal rods, and a small screen. Dust covered everything, but the items still looked solid. Ryan walked carefully to the shelves. He picked up one of the rock samples. It was smooth and heavy with a dark silver shine. He remembered the journal describing a rare mineral found under the property. This rock looked exactly like the drawings in the journal. He placed it back gently and opened a small notebook lying beside it. The pages described measurements, layers of soil, and the possible size of the mineral deposit. The writing said the deposit was large enough to change the future of the entire region. His breath caught in his chest. He realized what this discovery meant. His ancestor had found a mineral worth a huge amount of money. Minerals like this were used in advanced tools and industries. A deposit this large could be worth more than anything he had ever seen in his life. But his ancestor had kept it secret, maybe fearing the land would be taken or misused. He turned his attention to the strange device on the table. It looked like a scanner. The journal mentioned a device that could detect signals from the mineral underground. He brushed the dust off and saw a small switch on the side. He hesitated for a moment, then pressed it. For a second, nothing happened. Then the screen flickered to life with a faint glow. The device hummed softly, vibrating with energy. Lines appeared on the screen, showing bright points scattered across the map of the barn floor. Ryan placed the scanner on the ground. The lines on the screen grew brighter. The readings went higher. The device showed strong signals everywhere. This was the final proof. The entire land was filled with the rare mineral. He could hardly breathe. The value of this deposit could reach over 100 million. His mind raced. He imagined Mina growing up without fear of hunger or debt. He imagined rebuilding the farmhouse, making it warm and safe. He imagined a new life where struggle was a memory rather than a daily reality. But he also felt a deep responsibility. If people learned about this too soon, they might try to take the land. Greed could bring danger. He needed to protect the secret until he understood how to handle it safely. He needed to move step by step. He climbed back up the ladder and lifted Mina into his arms. She asked him what he saw. He told her he found something important, but he had to study it more. Her trustful eyes made him feel stronger. This journey was not only about money. It was about giving her a safe life. A life she deserved. Throughout the next few days, Ryan read the journals again and again. He stayed up late each night trying to understand the science behind the discovery. He made notes and compared the maps. Mina played nearby with her toys, sometimes asking if the house would soon look beautiful. He always answered that it would, and he meant it with his whole heart. During this time, the neighbors visited again. Some came out of curiosity. Others came to give unwanted advice. The same two men who mocked him earlier returned. They asked if he had found gold in the barn. They laughed at their own joke. Ryan kept his expression calm and told them he was only cleaning the place. They laughed harder and walked away shaking their heads. Ryan let them go without a word. Their opinions no longer mattered. He knew something they could not even imagine. One afternoon, while cleaning the underground chamber, he found a sealed envelope with his name written on it. His heart tightened. The handwriting was old but neat. He opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a letter from his ancestor. The letter explained that the land held a discovery that needed to be protected until it reached the right hands. The ancestor wrote that he believed someone in the family would come one day who understood the meaning of this gift. Someone who would use it with care, not greed. Someone who valued family more than wealth. Ryan felt emotion rise in his chest. He knew the letter was meant for him. His ancestor had trusted the future to him. This discovery was more than fortune. It was a responsibility passed down through generations. He folded the letter carefully and kept it close. That night, as he sat on the porch with Mina resting on his lap, he looked at the land around him with new eyes. This quiet place held a secret that could change their lives forever. He now understood why he felt a strange calm the first time he stepped inside the farmhouse. The land was waiting for him. The house was waiting for him. The secret was waiting for him. He gently kissed Mina's forehead and made a promise inside his heart. He would protect this land. He would uncover every truth hidden beneath it. And when the time was right, he would use this discovery to build a better life for them both. The wind moved through the fields, whispering softly as if approving his promise. And for the first time since he arrived, Ryan felt certain that he was exactly where he was meant to be. The morning sun rose slowly over the fields, lighting up the farmhouse and the barn with a soft golden glow. Ryan stood at the window holding a cup of warm tea. Mina was still asleep inside their room, wrapped in a blanket. The house felt quiet, but his mind was full of thoughts about the hidden chamber under the barn. He knew he had reached a turning point. The discovery was no longer a simple curiosity. It had become a path that could shape their future. He walked to the barn with steady steps. His heart beat a little faster every time he remembered the strong scanner readings. The rare mineral hidden under the land remained untouched for years. Now it belonged to him and Mina. It felt almost unreal. He pushed open the barn doors and stepped inside. A warm beam of light fell across the wooden floor, revealing dust rising slowly in the air. The hidden entrance beneath the plank seemed like an entrance to another world. He lifted the plank again and climbed down the ladder. The underground chamber felt cold and still. The lantern light flickered across the shelves, maps, and tools. He took out the journals and placed them on the table. He wanted to understand everything clearly. He needed to make a plan. He read about how the mineral was formed, how deep it ran, and how it could be extracted safely. His ancestor had written detailed notes on the dangers of rushed mining. The land had to be treated with respect and careful planning. As he read, he heard soft footsteps above him. When he climbed back up, he saw Mina waiting at the top of the ladder. She held her toy and asked if she could help him again. Ryan lifted her gently and carried her into the barn. He told her he found more information about the land. She asked if the land would help them fix the house and build a garden. Ryan smiled and said yes. Her excitement gave him new strength. The next task was to examine the ground outside the barn. According to the maps, the mineral deposit stretched far across the property. He walked across the yard, studying the soil. There were patches of earth that looked different. Some areas were smoother, some more cracked. He knelt down and dug with his hands. He found small stones that matched the samples in the underground chamber. The discovery felt more real with each handful of soil he lifted. As he worked, the neighbor named Miriam approached from the road. She carried a basket filled with vegetables. She smiled warmly and greeted him. She said she brought food because Mina reminded her of her own children from years ago. Ryan thanked her sincerely. She looked around the yard and noticed the way he was studying the ground. She asked if he was planning to plant something. Ryan replied gently that he was learning about the land. She nodded and wished him luck before walking away. After she left, he continued exploring the property. He circled around the house and stopped near the old well. At first sight, it looked like a normal well, but he noticed marks on the stones. The same patterns he saw on the key and porch pillar were carved faintly along the edge of the well. He touched them with his fingers. The carvings felt like signs left for him to follow. It made him believe even more that his ancestor had prepared everything carefully. He returned to the farmhouse and placed Mina's lunch on the table. They ate together quietly. Mina hummed a tune and played with her toy while he thought deeply. After lunch, he sat her outside in the yard and told her to play while he checked something inside the house. He returned to the underground room inside the farmhouse, separate from the chamber under the barn. He wanted to make sure he had not missed any important information. He searched through each crate again. He found tools used for testing minerals. He found measuring cups, thick gloves, and protective masks. His ancestor had been prepared for serious work. Ryan realized that the man had expected someone in the future to continue what he started. In the corner of the underground room, he noticed a wooden box he had not opened before. It was covered with a thick cloth. When he removed the cloth and lifted the lid, he found a stack of letters tied with a rope. The letters were arranged by date, showing years of study. He read through the first few letters and learned that his ancestor had once tried to contact a company about the mineral discovery. But the company wanted to claim full ownership, so he refused. The ancestor chose to keep the discovery hidden rather than risk losing the land. Ryan admired the courage behind that decision. The ancestor had protected the land for future generations. He felt grateful, almost emotional. He held the letters against his chest for a moment. He wanted to honor that decision by making the right choices now. As he returned to the surface, he saw Mina chasing butterflies near the fence. Her laughter filled the air like a melody. He smiled and walked toward her. She told him she wanted to plant flowers once the house looked nice. Ryan promised her they would have the most beautiful garden in the whole village. She clapped her hands happily. Later in the afternoon, 2 men from the neighborhood arrived again. They leaned against the fence and called out to him. Their voices carried a mocking tone. One asked if he had discovered hidden gold. The other said the land was worthless and he was wasting his time. Ryan felt no anger. He simply told them he was working to make the house better for his daughter. The men shrugged and walked away laughing. Ryan watched them go, feeling even more certain that they did not know the truth. Their laughter did not change anything. The land still held its secret, and he would not allow anyone to harm it. As the sky turned orange with evening, Ryan returned to the barn with the lantern. He wanted to test the scanner again. The device hummed softly when he turned it on. He placed it near the ground. The screen lit up brightly, showing strong signals everywhere. He walked across the chamber while the device beeped gently. Every step confirmed that the mineral was spread widely under the property. He sat on the stone floor for a moment and closed his eyes. The future felt overwhelming. He needed experts who could help him understand how to handle the discovery. He needed guidance. But he also had to protect the land from greedy people. He realized he had to approach the process carefully and with quiet planning. When he climbed back up the ladder, Mina was waiting at the top again. She hugged him tightly and said she felt safe in the farmhouse. Her words warmed his heart. They sat on the porch together as the stars began to appear in the sky. The night air felt cool and clean. Ryan spoke softly about how they would fix the broken windows, paint the walls, and make the house feel like a true home. Mina listened with excited eyes. As darkness fully settled in, Ryan opened the journal again under the porch light. He read one final message written by his ancestor. The message said that the land will reveal its truth only to someone with a steady heart and a clear purpose. Ryan realized the message was meant for him. He was ready to continue the journey. He was ready to uncover the full truth. He was ready to protect the land until he found the right moment to reveal its value. The quiet night held their small home gently. Ryan felt a deep sense of resolve. The path ahead might be difficult, but he would not stop. He would move forward with patience and courage. And with every step, he would build a better life for Mina. The sun rose peacefully over the wide fields as Ryan stepped outside with a notebook in his hand. Mina ran behind him, carrying her favorite toy. The farmhouse stood quiet, but today felt different. Today Ryan was ready to take a new step. He had spent many days studying the journals, checking the underground chambers, and confirming the readings from the scanner. Now he needed help from experts. He knew he could not handle a discovery this large on his own. But he also knew he had to protect the land from greedy people. He sat on the porch and wrote down everything he needed to do. He listed the minerals found, the maps, the letters from his ancestor, and the safety measures required. Mina sat beside him drawing flowers on a small piece of paper. She told him she wanted their home to look beautiful soon. Her voice reminded him why he was doing all this. He wanted to give her a life where fear and hardship would no longer follow them. After breakfast, he made a quiet trip to the nearest town. He carried a small box with a few rock samples inside. He did not tell anyone why he needed help. He visited a small laboratory and asked if they could test the samples. The worker in charge examined them with serious focus. After some tests, the worker looked surprised and asked where Ryan found such material. Ryan did not reveal the full truth. He only said it came from land he recently inherited. The worker told him the mineral was extremely rare and valuable. It was used in high-level industries and modern tools. The mineral could be worth a fortune if found in large amounts. Ryan thanked him politely and left with calm steps, even though his heart was racing. The test had confirmed everything. His ancestor had been right. The land beneath the farmhouse carried a deposit worth more than he had ever imagined. When he returned home, Mina ran to him with open arms. She asked if he bought something for her. He lifted her up and spun her gently. He said he did not buy anything yet, but soon they would have many good days ahead. She did not understand fully, but she felt happy anyway. Ryan spent the next few days contacting companies. He spoke to people who specialized in minerals and land development. He kept his voice steady and made sure not to reveal too much. He only shared the information after confirming the company had honest intentions. Some companies offered him deals that sounded unfair. They wanted the land for themselves and promised him very small amounts in return. Ryan refused them calmly. He wanted a deal that protected the land, the environment, and his daughter's future. Finally, he found a company that respected his conditions. They studied the maps and journals carefully. They agreed to work slowly and safely. They promised full protection of the farmhouse and the areas where Mina played. They also agreed to pay Ryan enough money to secure his life and his daughter's future. The deal would take time, but it was fair and safe. Ryan felt relieved at last. A week later, the company sent a small team to inspect the land. They arrived in quiet vehicles and carried professional equipment. The neighbors noticed, and whispers began to spread across the area. People wondered why experts were visiting the old farmhouse. Some thought Ryan had found something valuable. Others assumed he was getting help to repair the house. The truth remained a mystery to them. One afternoon, the same two men who had mocked Ryan before walked toward the fence. Their curiosity had grown. They asked loudly why so many visitors were coming to the farmhouse. They wanted to know if he had found a treasure. Ryan looked at them with calm eyes. He simply said he was improving the house and studying the land. The men exchanged confused looks. They had expected a different answer. They walked away once more, unsure of what to think. Ryan did not let their questions bother him. All that mattered was Mina's safety and the future they were building. He focused on guiding the experts around the property. He showed them the underground chambers, the journals, and the rock samples. The experts took careful notes. They told him the deposit was indeed very large. They told him that once work started, he would receive more money than he had ever dreamed of. Ryan listened with gratitude, not greed. He felt thankful but remained humble. One evening, as the sky turned deep orange, one of the experts sat with Ryan on the porch. He told Ryan that the estimated value of the mineral deposit could reach more than 100 million. Ryan remained quiet for a long moment. He looked at the fields, the barn, and the small house. Everything around him felt unreal. He thought of the days when he struggled to buy food. He thought of the nights when he worried about Mina's future. And now he was hearing numbers he could barely process. He thanked the expert and watched him leave. When the porch grew quiet again, Ryan sat alone with the journal in his lap. He touched the last page where his ancestor had written his final message. A message about hope, protection, and choice. Ryan whispered a quiet promise to honor those words. The next morning, when the contract was ready, Ryan signed it with steady hands. The company members shook his hand warmly. They promised to start safe operations soon. They also promised to help him rebuild the farmhouse and provide a separate safe area for Mina. Ryan thanked them sincerely. His heart felt lighter than ever before. When the news quietly reached some neighbors, many came to see him. The two men who mocked him came with lowered eyes. They asked if the rumors were true. Ryan simply said the land held something special. They apologized for their earlier behavior. He accepted their apology without anger. He knew there was no point in holding old wounds. Mina watched from the porch as the visitors spoke to her father. She felt proud, though she did not fully understand everything that happened. She ran to him and held his hand. He lifted her gently and looked at the land behind them. The fields seemed brighter. The air felt lighter. The farmhouse looked no longer like a burden. It looked like a place where new dreams could grow. As days passed, the company began preparing the land. Machines arrived, but they worked only in the safe zones far from the farmhouse. They set up protective fencing. They secured the underground chambers. They worked with care and respect. The farmhouse slowly transformed. Workers repaired the walls, fixed the roof, replaced the windows, and painted the rooms. The house began to look alive again. Mina helped choose the colors for her new room. She planned her flower garden near the porch. She ran around the yard with joy every day. Her laughter filled the air like music. One evening, after a long day of planning, Ryan stood on the porch holding Mina's hand. The sky was filled with stars. The land stretched peacefully in front of them. He thought about the journey they had taken. From struggle and fear to hope and stability. From an old forgotten farmhouse to a land holding rare treasure. From sleepless nights to dreams finally growing bright. He looked at Mina and realized the truth. The real blessing was not the mineral deposit or the money. The real blessing was the chance to build a new life where his daughter could grow with joy, safety, and hope. The land had given him more than wealth. It had given him courage and purpose. As the night breeze moved gently across the fields, Ryan closed his eyes and whispered a quiet promise to the land, to his ancestor, and to his daughter. He promised to protect this home. He promised to build a future filled with peace. He promised to honor every step that brought them here. And with that promise, their new life truly began.